Rain cascaded unyieldingly that evening, the sort that smeared the lampposts and turned every noise into an echo of solitude. Mark, a lone father fighting to hold his existence together, was drawing the curtains of his modest, dilapidated flat when he spotted a lady lingering in the downpour. Her garments were drenched, her limbs folded across her body as though clutching the final scrap of heat she possessed. Something in her gaze halted him, a subtle sorrow that echoed his own. He was unaware then, but inviting her inside that evening would transform everything. By the following dawn, a single call from her would reshape his whole existence. Mark's days had been a chain of steep struggles. Since his spouse departed 3 years prior, he labored extra hours at a fix-it garage, scarcely affording rent and provisions for his 7-year-old girl, Lily. Each evening, he arrived home drained. Yet somehow, the grin of his young one granted him sufficient resolve to begin anew. But recently, the burden of outstanding invoices, the faulty furnace, and the lessor's warnings were starting to overwhelm him. The sole solace he possessed was the faint, cozy chuckle from Lily's chamber as she embraced her frayed stuffed bear, murmuring good night to her mother's photo. That evening, as lightning rattled the panes, Mark couldn't dispel the vision of that lady outdoors. She wasn't pleading. She wasn't seeking aid. She was merely standing there adrift. Contrary to his wiser instincts, he seized his coat, unlatched the door, and shouted, "Hey, are you all right?" She recoiled initially, then gradually pivoted toward him. Her complexion was ashen, her locks stuck to her brow, and her tone scarcely discernible. I just require shelter for the evening. I'll depart at sunrise." He paused. His thoughts yelled, no, he had a kid indoors and she was an unknown. But then he peered into her gaze once more, and something about the fatigue and serene poise there compelled him to agree. "Enter. You can rest on the sofa." She entered, shedding water onto the threadbare rug, murmuring a hushed gratitude. Within, Lily glanced inquisitively from her space. "Dad, who's that?" Mark grinned gently. "Just a person who needs cover for tonight, darling." Lily's purity shattered the strain right away. She dashed out, offered the lady her tiny coverlet and declared, "It's cozy. You can take it." The lady's eyes brimmed with moisture. She swiftly brushed it off. "Thank you, young one," she breathed. The moments slipped by silently. Mark provided her broth, and they settled near the diminutive warmer that hummed more than it functioned. She shared her name was Emily, simply Emily, and that she had endured a tough period. She offered no specifics, and he inquired none. They exchanged faint, weary grins in the hush of the tempest. For the first occasion in months, Mark sensed a peculiar calm, as if the cosmos had halted its harshness for one fleeting evening. When daybreak arrived, Emily was already stirring, positioned by the pane, observing the initial rays graze the damp avenues. Mark was brewing Java, attempting to outline another day of ceaseless labor and fret. Emily pivoted to him and inquired softly, "May I place a call? I assure it won't linger." He assented, scarcely attending as she withdrew with his outdated device. The exchange was brief, composed, and oddly polished. When she handed back the phone, she offered him a slight grin that appeared altered, assured, aware. "Appreciate you for last evening, Mark," she stated. "You had no idea of my identity, yet you assisted me regardless. Folks seldom do that nowadays." Before he could respond, she exited, vanishing along the road like a silhouette dissolving into the glow. Mark paid it little mind. He proceeded with his routine, escorted Lily to class, headed back to the workshop, toiled through yet another extended tour. But that midday, all shifted. Upon returning home, a polished ebony vehicle was stationed beyond his structure. 2 figures in attire awaited. "Mr. Mark Evans," one inquired, "we're from the Bennett Foundation. Ms. Emily Bennett instructed us to convey something to you." They presented him a missive. Contained was a note and a draft. He stiffened upon viewing the sum. $250,000. His fingers quivered as he scanned her message. You extended a stranger compassion without demanding a thing. I was that stranger. My name is Emily Bennett, CEO of Bennett Industries. Regard this not as alms, but as thanks. Employ it to grant your daughter the existence she merits. You recalled to me that compassion endures. Never cease being that individual. Moisture clouded his sight as Lily hurried to him, clasping a modest sketch of their kin. "Dad, why are you weeping?" He crouched, drawing her close. "Because, Darling, he murmured. At times the tiniest benevolence can alter everything. In the ensuing weeks, Mark cleared his obligations, mended the flat, and even launched his own vehicle mending business with the funds. Existence didn't turn flawless, but it turned promising. He frequently reflected on Emily during that turbulent evening. Months afterward, as he collected Lily from Academy, he noticed a recognizable auto draw near. Emily emerged clad plainly this instance. No hint of the business realm she inhabited. She beamed upon sighting him. "Seems like fortune's improved," she remarked. He chuckled lightly. "Owing to one telephone conversation." She inclined her head mildly. "No, Mark. Owing to one deed of benevolence." And as they lingered there, the sun dipping behind them, both grasped something profound. That occasionally life's grandest wonders arise not from wealth, influence, or fortune, but from a lone unselfish instant when you opt to tend to another who possesses naught to repay. That evening in the deluge wasn't a mishap. It was fate masked as compassion.